Erik Olsen. Anyway, this is like the hardest working candidate ever. Not only is he working for himself, but he's out every day working for Donald Trump and Eric Hovde. Incredible. So, he's got a message for you all. But first, his little sidekick, Rolf, has got a song that he wrote about Erik Olsen.
Can everybody hear me okay without a microphone? No? I think the acoustics in here are pretty good. I'll tell you, we are at the verge of an amazing time. How many of you were working hard in 2020 so that our president, Donald J. Trump, could win that election? And how many of you were disgusted when they stole it from us with 4 years of dishonest, lying journalism, with 51 supposed intelligence agents telling us that a laptop that happened to be from the jet-setting, crack-smoking, communist Chinese bought-out son of the current felon, unindicted felon, but nevertheless felon, who inhabits the White House. That was just it. They said it bore the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. What a bunch of baloney. What a bunch of baloney. How many times did that dishonest press lie to us? They lied again and again and again and again. And how dishonest are those Democrats? I'll tell you something. We all watched them steal an election from Bernie Sanders in 2016, and all the people on their side admit it. You ask them, didn't they steal the election from Bernie in 2016? And they say, oh yeah, sure, they sure did. And then they stole it from him again in 2020. And then they stole it from RFK Jr. And every one of those single times, they weren't stealing the election from Bernie, they weren't stealing the election from RFK, they were stealing that election from the American people. So I'll say it like it is. The Democrat Party of today is a fascist party. That's right, they're fascists, and I'll tell you why. Because what do fascists do? Instead of letting we, the people, who are actually in charge of this country, decide who we want to lead us, who we want to put in the servant's role of leading our country, a fascist party picks the candidate. And then they parade that candidate out in front of the little people who are below them, and they say, behold your new leader that has been picked for you by the party. And isn't that exactly what they did with candidate Harris? Nobody wanted her. She tried to run back in 2020. Nobody voted for her. She flamed out even before the beginning of the primaries because every single American saw right through her that she was fake, right down to the bone. They call it astroturf. Astroturfing is political speak for when you try to make it look like there's a grassroots campaign for somebody, but they're all bought and paid for. They're all bought and paid for, just like the Chinese bought and paid for the Biden family. Bought and paid for. And when people started seeing through that, because I'll tell you something that I believe very deeply. I believe the American people are pretty intelligent. I believe the American people can see BS from a mile away. And when candidate Harris came out back in 2020 and wanted to be the candidate, we all saw clear through it. We said, you know, she's as fake as a wooden nickel. Fake, totally fake. A person who will do and say anything to get power. And we saw it again and again. First, she was against fracking. She was going to ban fracking. You will never see another fracking in the United States. And maybe some of you are for fracking. Doesn't matter. She said she was against it. But then suddenly, she was for it. She gets back up on the debate stage against Donald Trump and says, oh no, now she's for fracking. And so many other things like that. But that's just a very, very clear example where she was against Joe Biden. Boy, did you see how she massacred that man on the debate stage? She called him a racist, and she said that, oh, he was about the worst guy in United States history. Remember that debate between the Democrats back? And old Joe was standing there kind of staring up into space, a portent of things to come, right? Because he sure did a lot of that once he got into office. But then, when the chance came for her to get a little bit of power, why, she sidled right up to him and said, okay, sign me up. I'm ready to ride on the Biden bus. But then, when she saw her opportunity, she got out that big political knife and stabbed him right in the back. And I'll tell you something, that tells us something, folks. She will do the exact same thing to the American people. So for those of us who have been working on this thing since 2016, we have an opportunity to put Donald J. Trump where he should be, back in the White House, to have an opportunity to implement the agenda that we, the people, asked for him to be put there to implement. Because the first time around, they wouldn't let him do it. They got in the way of him every turn. He was blocked by bureaucrats, by people even in our own party who didn't want to give him a chance, by the Democrats. They blocked him at every turn. And still, you know what's crazy? He's still accomplished a whole lot more than the Biden administration accomplished, which all they did to accomplish was to try to destroy America. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Middle East is now in flames. There's a war, a ground war in Europe. We don't know when the nukes are going to start flying, but I'll tell you something. A vote for Kamala Harris is risking World War III. And I'll tell you something, we are in a unique position here. Most of us all live in Dane County, but some in Sauk, Iowa, Greene. And I'll tell you something that these counties all have an abundance of. Democrats, okay? And that's important because these are the people that we have, as of Monday, a couple weeks left to talk to and tell them, are you the party of peace? Are you a person for peace? Do you want peace? Because we Republicans are now the party of peace. There was no wars when Donald Trump was the president because we had peace through strength. We had moral certainty. We had conviction. We knew that the United States of America was the greatest country yet to exist on the face of the earth. And because of that moral certainty, our enemies were afraid and they didn't attack us, and evil settled down. But when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because I'll tell you something, it was funny. She went on Bret Baier's show the other day, and he asked her, he said, Madam Vice President, when did you first notice that Joe Biden was shot? He didn't use those words, but that's what he was asking, because the guy, there's nothing there. I feel sorry for him that they parade him around up there. There's nothing there. He can't run anything. You wouldn't hire him to run a Subway shop. He'd screw it up, right? He would. No one in their right mind would hire that man in that condition to do anything. So when did she notice that there was nothing there? Well, she wouldn't answer the question. She started railing on Trump and this and that. and wouldn't answer the question. Under no circumstances would she answer the question. And what I heard was that as that interview progressed, her staff was waving their arms and yelling at her, "Get off the stage, get off, call it a day, stop, you're killing yourself." Oh yeah, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. And watching that interview, man, if I'd been working for her, I would have said, "Oh boy, we're in big trouble here. Reel it in," because it was bad news. And she wouldn't answer that question. But that's disqualifying, isn't it? Because if she knew that he was compromised and he was unable to lead this country, and that our great country was floating around like a ship without a captain, vulnerable to foreign attacks by our adversaries who hate us and want to see us die, and she didn't pipe up and say anything, that's pretty bad. But at a minimum, it is utterly disqualifying for her to ever serve in a position of leadership. But if she didn't notice, that's even worse, because that means, I don't even know what that means. We all saw it, and we weren't even there with the guy. And we saw it just looking on television. I've never seen a man fall up the stairs of an airplane. And the things that he would say on television were utterly unintelligible. In fact, the way that he spoke reminded me very clearly of my great aunt, God rest her soul, after she had a stroke and was completely diminished and needed to be cared for by my great uncle. And he cared for her till the day that she died. But she was diminished. She couldn't drive. She couldn't be put in charge of doing anything. And the way that she spoke was exactly the same as the way that Mr. Biden was speaking really throughout his term. Ever since they got into office, the world has been engulfed in the flames of war. Tell your liberal friends that. Tell them, even if you just vote Republican one time, do it just this one time. Do it for all the men and women fighting out on the front line between Ukraine and Russia. Do it for their mothers and fathers who pray to God every night that those children come home safe. Do it for our friends in Israel who are fighting on 7 fronts against a diabolical enemy. And do it for your children and your grandchildren and every other American who has ever had the privilege and the honor to call that flag our flag. So we've been working hard. It was absolutely an honor to be here on the stage today. Billy Johnson and all the other folks from 2nd Congressional have put together this great event for us to come together. A lot of us we're already going to vote the right way. But we've got to get inspired in these last 2 weeks to do every single thing we can. And last but not least, I want to thank the light of my life, Sarah, my wife. And I want to thank all the rest of you. There's too many of you here to name, but I am so deeply grateful to be part of such a great group of friends and such a great group of patriots. So let's save America and let's make America great again.
Good job. Thanks, Dave.